Scream 7 is the latest installment in the Scream franchise and pretty much follows the same trope of every Scream movie. There's a new Ghostface killer going around butchering a bunch of people, and there's this group of people that you know among them is the Ghostface killer. So Sydney Prescott's trying to unmask who the killer is before they come after her and her daughter. The Scream franchise is regarded by pretty much every horror movie fan and slasher fan as the greatest slasher franchise of all time. I'm someone who's admittedly not a massive horror fan, so this is a franchise that I haven't been too involved with. I did finally see the original Scream just a couple nights ago before I saw Scream 7, and I will say this much. While that movie has certainly been overhyped as of recent, and it's definitely been lauded as one of the greatest horror movies ever, I don't know if I would go that far, but it was a very fun slasher movie. I had a great time with, obviously, the kills, the mystery, but what I appreciated most about the original Scream is the way it deconstructed horror movies to the bone marrow. Like, it's an extremely self-aware movie, and it just has fun with that. And I think that's awesome. And one could argue that's how this Scream franchise has gone on for so long. It's never taken itself too seriously. It knows exactly what works for it, and it just plays into that. Aside from the original Scream, though, I have seen Scream 5 and 6, and I did enjoy each of them for what they were going for. And I'll say this much with Scream 7. The Ghostface kills in this movie, once again, are great. They are bloody, they're gory, they're brutal. Like, when Ghostface kills people, he finds creative ways to do it and ways that undeniably make you go, oh, fuck. I mean, in a movie where you have a masked serial killer, you've got to have some impressive kills if you want to keep the audience locked in. Having said all of that, gotta be real with you guys here. There's not a whole lot else in this movie that worked for me. Starting with Sydney Prescott, I understand she is the face of this franchise, if we're not counting Ghostface. I also understand that Neve Campbell is arguably the biggest Scream queen of Scream queens, and not just because she is the lead of the franchise Scream. However, in this movie, her storyline, namely like the storyline of her being overly protective of her daughter, and her daughter kind of wanting her to fuck off a little bit, it just felt kind of forced, and the reason it feels forced is because you can clearly tell this is not the direction the Scream franchise wanted to go. Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, they're two characters from the last two Scream movies. They were meant to carry this franchise. They were meant to be the new faces of it, and because shit fell through with those actors for whatever reason it was, now we're going back to Sydney Prescott, which for some fans might be exciting, but for this movie, doesn't really feel like the direction it was supposed to go in, namely for the future of the franchise. I felt like, alright, we need a 7th Scream movie. Bring back Sydney Prescott. Oh, she needs a storyline? Okay, let's make her overly protective of her daughter, and her daughter's dating a guy who's maybe a little sus, and she's got friends who have some little tics about them that aren't great. It's just a generic storyline in these Scream movies that I personally couldn't get behind, because I know this franchise probably wanted to and was going to offer us something different and better. Also, this movie clearly makes it so that the only characters you care about and are rooting for in this movie are Sydney Prescott and her daughter Tatum. In this movie, every other character is either just completely generic, or maybe they have just enough about them that makes them suspicious, but not even in like the fun way. Like, the way the original Scream movie works so well is you had that group of friends, you knew among them was definitely the Ghostface killer, but each of them had something going for them that made you go, okay, it could be you. But it was something fun, something unique, something that really made them stand out and made you remember them. I am not going to remember a single character from this Scream movie. All of them were just generic. Like, it kind of reached a point. I looked at all of them and it was like, okay, nothing's memorable about you whatsoever. You're either the Ghostface killer or Ghostface is going to kill you. And guess what? I was right. One of those two things happened, and that just made the mystery in the movie not even very compelling, because you're not getting attached to very many characters. You're not learning enough about them to make you interested or intrigued in them. You're kind of just like waiting for the reveal to happen. It detracts from the mystery, it detracts from the suspense, and those are two things you really need to hit home if you're gonna have a successful Scream movie. Also, I mentioned in Scream 6 how some people take some hits, take some stabbings, take some brutal attacks that should have killed them and they survived. Well, Scream 7 does that here once again. There's one character that gets absolutely fucked up in this movie, and I'm just like, alright, well, that character's dead. End of the movie, we see the character again, it's like, You're alive. How are you alive? Like, how did you survive this long after everything that happened to you? Make that make sense. They don't. They just need this character still kicking, so the end of the movie, the climax, could feel a little more, you know, suspenseful and have a little bit more going for it. Have bigger stakes. You want to do that, fine, but at least don't make it look like the character got completely butchered to death earlier in the movie. Also, when it comes to the end of this movie, people have called this the worst Ghostface reveal ever. Again, I've only seen 4 Scream movies, so I'm not the best judge of character for this, but I will say, I would believe it. Because again, the character that is revealed as Ghostface, it just doesn't make sense. And I understand, people will go back to the original Scream, where like that Ghostface killer is revealed, and they have the lines like, does there need to be a motive? Isn't it scarier when there isn't a motive? Again, playing into the horror movie tropes. It's like, these killers didn't really need a motive. They were just the killers. They were monsters. That's why we feared them. But I don't know. In these movies, in this Scream movie, I would say rather, when the Ghostface killer is revealed, I'm kind of sitting there like, fucking why? It's someone who contributes nothing to the storyline whatsoever, and it's someone who literally had 2 minutes of fucking screen time. It's like, this was the best you could go with. This is what you wanted to do. Again, it's like the studio couldn't figure out who to make the Ghostface killer, so they just threw that in there as a cop-out. Even one of the characters, there's this like underlying theme that's going on throughout the movie that's trying to make you think that maybe a previous character from the Scream franchise has something to do with what's going on. And one of the characters you find out has been manipulating things in such a way to make it feel like that, and the excuse this character makes like, oh, I just wanted to see if I could make something work. It's like, so wait, you were behind what we just saw that freaked everybody out, that made everyone think a type of way? You just wanted to see if it would work, but you had nothing to do with the killings? Why? Like, make that make sense. How do you fucking explain yourself for that? Just, oh my god, like, what are you thinking? Where's the movie trying to go with that? It didn't make any sense whatsoever, and it just made for a very anticlimactic ending that I couldn't wait to get out of. So all in all, Scream 7, yeah, I didn't like this one. Has a couple nice kills. I will say the opening of the movie, that felt like it was going towards something until it very well didn't. Sydney Prescott's storyline feels completely forced into this because it is. The other characters in this movie, completely generic. Didn't care about him. Didn't have a good mystery. Wasn't really all that suspenseful. Easily the weakest Ghostface reveal we've probably ever had. In the end, a lot of fans are calling this one easily the worst one in the franchise. I'll take their word for it. I gotta give Scream 7 a 3 out of 10 because aside from some nice kills here and there, this movie is just bad. Oh, it's bad! I already hear Scream 8's in the making. Here's hoping that thing can turn things around for this franchise, because after this, it's gonna need that. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.